So today we are going to review multiplying whole numbers and decimals. We did do a review of this last week and the week before, so this is going to be just like a quick review. Okay, so today we want to find the product and we also want to estimate to check for reasonableness. Okay, so I think what I'd like to do is I want to actually estimate first with you guys. Okay, because sometimes that's the hard part for some of you. Okay, so I want to do, let me get this working again. I want to look here at 2 4/10 and 3 6/10. Remember that when we're estimating, we want to round to the nearest, to the highest place value they have in common. So in this case, that would be the ones place. Okay, so I would round 2 4/10 to 2. And I would round 3 6/10. Since there's a 6 right here, I would round that to 4. So my estimate here is 8. That means that my real answer has to be close to 8. And we'll come back and discuss that after we find the real answer. So let's do the same thing for this one. So I have 5 8/10 and 5 2/10. They both also go to the ones place. 5 8/10 would be closer to 6. 5 2/10 is closer to 5. And so 6 times 5 is 30. Coming down here, I have 8 3/10 and I have 10 7/10. Now, this 10 goes to the tens place, but the 8 3/10 still only goes to the ones place. So I'm still going to round to the whole number, to the ones place. So 8 3/10 is close to 8. And 10 7/10, because I would look here next door, would be close to 11. So 8 times 11 is 88. Then I have 3 42/100 and 4 5/10. These are also close to the ones place. Okay, they go up to the ones place. So 3 42/100 is closer to 3. And I would say 4 5/10, since that's a 5 next door, would be closer to 5. So 3 times 5 is 15. So now we have our estimates, and we need to find our real answer by multiplying. I'm going to do that with a different color. Okay, so we're going to do 2 4/10 times 3 6/10 first. Now, remember, we treat this like there's no decimals. Okay, we're going to do 24 times 36, and then we're going to count over at the end to figure out where our decimal goes. So I want to do my ones place first. Okay, remember we always go this way first, and then this way. So 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 2 is 14. If it helps you, cross off the ones place and you're regrouping so you don't use it again. Now we're thinking of this 3 as a 30, so we put a 0 here. And now we go this direction and then this direction. So 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And now I add the two partial products. 4, 6, and 8. Now, the last step is to count over my decimals. So in this factor, my decimal is over 1 place. And in this factor, my decimal is over 1 place. Well, 1 plus 1 is 2. So I start on the right and I go over 2 places. So I'm saying that this answer is 8 64/100. Is that close to 8? Yes, it is. Now, if I was rounding 8 and 64 hundredths, I might round that to 9 because it would be closer to 9, but it's still close to 8. So we say that that is a reasonable answer. Okay, so now we're going to do the next one. You shouldn't be erasing your work. I'm just erasing it so I can put it all on one piece of paper. All right, so our next problem is 5 and 8/10 times 5 and 2/10. And again, we're going to think of it as 58 times 52. So I do my ones place first. Pardon me, so sorry. I was trying to pause it. I didn't get there fast enough. All right, so 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. I can cross off my ones place and my regrouping. And since this is really going to be considered a 50, I place a 0. 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 4 is 29. And I add them together. And now the last step is to count over. So this factor has 1 decimal place. This factor has 1 decimal place. 1 plus 1 is 2, so I start here and I go over 2 places. So my answer is 30 and 16/100. Is that close to 30? Absolutely. If I was estimating 30 and 16/100, I would round it to 30, so it is very close. All right, my next problem is going to be 8 and 3/10 times 10 and 7/10. Okay, now it does look a little weird if I write it like this. Okay, we can still multiply like that, but a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to do that. I'd rather do this, 10 and 7/10 times 8 and 3/10. Is it okay to do that? Absolutely, because the commutative property of multiplication says that either way I want to have these factors, I will get the same product. Okay, so again, ones place first. So 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 0 is 0 plus 2. 3 times 1, 3. So I can cross this off and go to my next row. Because this 8, we're considering it an 80, I put a 0. So 8 times 7 is 56. 8 times 0 is 0 plus 5. And 8 times 1 is 8. If I add those together, let me get that out of the way. Okay, that would be an 8, another 8, and another 8. Okay, now I need to count. So this factor has 1 decimal. This factor has 1 decimal. 1 plus 1 is 2. So my product is 88 and 81/100. Is that close to our 88 that we started with? Absolutely. So now we have one more that we want to do. So that's the 3 and 42/100 times 4 and 5/10. 3 and 42/100 times 4 and 5/10. All right, ones place first. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 4 is 20 plus 1. And then 5 times 3 is 15, plus my 2 is 17. I'm going to take out my 1s and my regrouping. And do a different color because I like doing that. Makes it a little easier on me. So this 4 is really a 40. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Add them together. Okay, now I need to deal with my decimals. Okay, this factor actually goes over 2 places. And then this factor goes over 1. So 2 plus 1 is 3. So I start here and I go over 3 places. Okay, so my answer here is 15 and 390 thousandths. Okay, is that close to 15? Absolutely. And here's why it's really good to make sure that you're estimating, because all 3 of these problems, when we were counting over here for our decimals, they were all 2 places. Well, if I accidentally get to this last one and I think, oh yeah, everything's 2 today, I'm just going to do 2. Well, then my answer, I'd put a decimal here, right? And so instead of 15 and 390 thousandths, if I only counted over 2 place values, it would be 153 and 90 thousandths. Okay? There is a very big difference between these 2 numbers. And so if I do this work, like let's say I did come up with this answer because I accidentally did 2 decimals instead of the 3 like I should have. If I have my estimate up here of 15 and I look at 153 and 90 thousandths, I should say, oh my gosh, something's wrong there because 15 and 153 are not close. And so at that point, I might go back and say, you know what? I see that I have a 15 here, so let me go back and count my decimals again, because that's just a very quick check, a quick way to make sure that you have that correct answer is to go back and check those decimals.